Hey everybody, Steven here, and today I'm doing my review for the Samsung Odyssey G7. This is the 32-inch model here. So, doing this a little bit differently. Usually I have a bunch of B-roll, and I'll still have that in this, but I usually do like voiceover work and I read from a script that I write. This one kind of just shooting from the hip, mainly because I'm actually going to be returning this for a flickering issue that I'm having, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I do want to go over the specs first, then I'll talk about the things that I don't like, and then I'll actually cover the things that I do like about this monitor, and then we'll kind of wrap everything up. So looking at specs here, I mentioned this is the 32-inch model. This is a VA panel. It's 1440p, 240 hertz. That's one of the big draws for this monitor. And it has a 1000R curve as well versus like a 15 or an 1800R curve that you see with other monitors. This is a QLED, so you're getting 125% of the sRGB scale. For the DCI scale, you're getting, or color gamut, you're getting 95%. It does have really good coloring with this. It has a 1 millisecond response time. This is FreeSync Premium, by the way, with this, which is what you need in order to cover the higher refresh rate. It does have HDR. It's HDR 600 with this, so not 400 has HDR 600. It's not HDR 1000 like the 49-inch G9 has, but it does have HDR with this. It has one HDMI 2.0 port. It has two DisplayPort 1.4s, two USB 3.0s, and then a headphone jack with this as well. So those are just kind of the general specs with this. Covering the things that I don't like, and I do want to mention also that this is height. It has height adjustment. It can swivel. You can tilt it as well, so it does have a good stand. But covering the things that I don't like about this, the main one is going to be the flickering issue, which I did a video covering that. I'm going to attach an article that covers why this happened. Somebody commented on that, and it was from Display Ninja, which is where the article's at. And it covers in detail, way better than I can translate here, why this happens with their panels. And with this, it's really turning on adaptive sync causes the issue. And when you turn it off, I don't have any problems. I don't want to say I absolutely don't have any problems. I still have some every now and then, but for the most part, it's pretty much eliminated. So the big thing is obviously the flickering issue, but this isn't true G-Sync. This is G-Sync compatible, but we have the sticker on here saying that it's NVIDIA G-Sync. So it doesn't have the actual module with this. So I feel a little bit disappointed that I was sold this notion of, hey, this has G-Sync, and turns out it's just G-Sync compatible. So like I said, it doesn't have the module. My thought being like, hey, this is an $800 monitor. Part of that price is you're getting true G-Sync, which I know that module can be $100, $150, $200 to put on the monitor. So that makes sense for the price, and that's not the case. So kind of disappointed with that. So when you turn adaptive sync on, you enable G-Sync compatibility, it causes a ton of problems. And I've seen some workarounds, and people are like, hey, this worked for me. But the problem is like, that worked for them, and then it doesn't work for other people. So now you're tinkering with your settings a ton, and you're trying to figure out how to get this to work smoothly. I don't like the notion of that for $800, $860 after tax. So that's the big drawback. The price, one, and you think you're going to get a premium product, but it turns out it doesn't have true G-Sync, and you're having flickering problems. And I've seen people send a handful of them back, they get them, and they still have the same issue, or they finally do get one and they have no issues. So that's could be a quality control thing, but if you read the article, it really has to do with their panels from what Display Ninja is saying, and I'll let you guys read through that. So that's going to be one of the big ones, and I think I got overhyped on this. One, the look, and that's a huge plus for me, is aesthetically it looks amazing. But you think the 1000R curve that's never been done before, that's going to be really cool. That's the contour of your eye. That doesn't really translate as much with a 32-inch. That 49-inch one that you see, it's like, yeah, that's going to be like that curve because it's going to wrap around. At 32, it's you you see it from the side and you kind of notice it when you're sitting in front here. It's not as drastic as you think, and like I said, I think I just got overhyped on it. That's my own fault with that. And the last one's going to be HDR. This is my viewpoint on HDR as a whole. Now, I haven't played with the like $2,400 Asus monitor that has the 512 like lights for local dimming, and it's HDR 1000, and that's supposed to be really good HDR. I've only messed with 400 and 600 panels outside of my TCL TVs, which have 1000. HDR just isn't quite there for me. It just takes a lot of, same thing, tinkering around in the menu. You can nail it down and it'll look really good in one game, and then you go to play another game and it's not, so you're going back through your settings to mess with everything. And I'm more like, I want this thing set up, I just want to be able to play, I don't want to have to worry about it. So HDR 600 better than 400, but it's same thing, it's just not quite there for me. And I've seen people that have had good luck with it, and they nail down their settings and they like the look of it. This is more of a personal preference. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it's going to work in this game and it's not going to look good in this game. This one supports HDR, this one doesn't. Like, it just ends up being something that I'm toying around with when I end up being a little bit more limited with how much I can game anyways. I think here in the next couple of years it'll be something that's more prominent, but right now it's too much in its infant phase as tech, and I'm going to wait a couple more years till I kind of worry about HDR. So those are really the big dislikes with this, and that's part of, I'm going to send this back, and that has to do with the price. $860 can get me a lot of cool monitors. Some are cheaper, by the way, that I could save money potentially. And I love my 32-inch here, but if I'm comparing this to my Acer monitor, my 32-inch that I reviewed here on the channel, like, that has an 1800 arc curve. It has 4 USB ports, which I use those a lot, not the 2. It's 144 hertz, 1440p. It has FreeSync. I can put it into the G-Sync compatible mode, but that just causes issues also, which I've had more issues with trying to do that, and I don't see as much upside, because I usually, at 144 hertz with my RTX 2080 Ti, I'm not having any issues anyways. Typically, I'm never experiencing any screen tearing or anything like that. So that is a solid monitor, and it's like 450 bucks, like half the price almost of this. So with that, looking, can I justify the price jump to go to this? I just can't. So I'm looking to go back to an ultra wide. I reviewed the Scepter 35-inch ultra wide. I originally went from the ultra wide back down to a 32 because YouTube doesn't let you do end screen annotations with your videos, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm on a time crunch most of the time. I'm not even doing that anyways. So it's just like, all right, let's go back to the ultra wide. I do prefer the 21:9 in terms of like when I get to just play and I don't have to worry about doing content or anything like that. So I think I'm going to go back to that and still keep my 32-inch just in case it does become an issue, that the Acer that I have. But let's talk about the upside with this, because there are things that I do like. The biggest one is the aesthetics. Like, this is a very cool, sleek design. That was a huge draw also. When you saw it, you're like, whoa, that looks incredible. And so I think they nailed down the aesthetics with this. The coloring out of the box also, it took some tinkering with, but it has good color profiles with this. The menu is easy to navigate. It's just a single button here down at the bottom. And I think that in terms of playing games when I have adaptive sync off and I'm not having any issues, like, this is a really good looking monitor. And then the 240 hertz with this, that I'm in both camps on, it's good and it's bad. I have it, like I said, an RTX 2080 Ti. I'm not hitting 240 hertz outside of Doom in any game. And at 240 hertz, am I noticing a difference between the 144 hertz and that? Not really. It's where all of this is going, but the notion here was like, hey, you're going to future-proof. By the time you get to the point where you're Maybe with these 3000 series cards that are coming out later this year, you're kind of touching that, but most people are trying to, it depends on what you want. Do you want the higher refresh rate, or do you want 4K, whatever it may be. And maybe they touch it with the 3000 series cards, but in the next 1, 2, 3 years, where it's more common that you can hit 240 hertz with your GPU, these are going to be a lot cheaper. And at that point, who knows what's going to be out there. You're probably going to want to get one of those, and you may be like, I wish I would have waited, because I pulled the trigger on something where I'm not really using it in as games as much as I think I was going to. Now, with that being said, the just daily tasks that you may do, pulling up apps and things like that, this thing runs smooth. So yeah, there is a difference between the 144 and 240. I notice it more when I'm just like pulling up a website or something like that, and how smooth the response time is, and just how that looks when it comes up. And that's where I notice it the most. So I like it, like I said, for the day-to-day tasks that I'm doing. In games, I'm not hitting it outside of Doom, like I said. In these games, they're not, we're looking at like Subnautica Below Zero, they're not optimized yet. Satisfactory, things like that, where I'm hitting 100 160 FPS. Like, that's just something, it looks good with that, but like I said, I'm not even touching 240. You get a graphically demanding game, Red Dead Redemption 2, like this thing is in the 70s and 80s. Like, I'm not going to touch it. So something to consider with that. To kind of wrap it up though, this right now, and I've mentioned the price a couple times, it was listed yesterday. I checked again today. By the time you guys watch this, they got 7 left. Like, it may not happen. They've dropped the price. $799 is what it was. It's $649 right now. At $649, is it worth it? Based off the information that's out there, I mean, that's obviously your call. I'm here to just hopefully provide my point of view and some feedback on it. Maybe, like, that's $150 off. That's a lot of money. Will they stay like that, considering they only have the 7 left in stock? And it does say that there's more on the way, but I don't know. It may go back up. At $800, man, though, it's too steep in my opinion. If I had the, was it $1,700 to get the 49-inch model, I think the 1000R curve, and I wouldn't, like, if you just had adaptive sync off with that, it would be a big deal to me. Like I said, you're going to actually take advantage of that 1000R curve. Like, you would keep that monitor long enough that, yeah, you would actually have a GPU that could hit that 240 hertz with that monitor at some point, right? Because that's a hefty buy. But with this, there's just too many cons at the moment. So my suggestion would be, if you do really want this, wait for a sell, but also potentially think about waiting out them hammering out all of these issues. I did the firmware update on this, by the way, and it didn't fix anything, because I went to their website. I had heard that maybe that was an issue. Put it on a USB stick, plugged it in, got that all set up, didn't fix anything. So I've tried a bunch of different things, and it was fun, I don't want to call it fun, but it was an interesting process to learn more about why things like this happen. That just adds to my knowledge about all of this, because I still consider myself very much a casual gamer. I'm not in depth like you see all these other channels where they're testing the coloring and the G to G response time and what that actually is, because they say 1 millisecond response time, but that's not actually what it is. All those different things that they actually end up testing with this stuff. I'm not there yet, right? And part of that is a huge time constraint that I have with my schedule, but with all of this, it really is up to you guys to take all the information and figure out, is this the right monitor for me? Like I said, I'll be returning mine. I'm going to go most likely with an ultra wide here. I've had a good experience when it's worked, but between the price point, being sold on G-Sync when it's not true G-Sync, the 1000R curve being a little bit underwhelming, I think it's partially my fault for being overhyped, and then just there being issues. So that's really going to be it for this. If there's something though that I didn't answer with any of this, definitely let me know in the comment section. I want to make sure that I cover that for you guys with this as well. just because sometimes I try to cover everything, but there's something maybe that I missed with this. But I'll be returning this, hopefully getting something else, an ultra wide in here, and then I'll do an unboxing video with that. I really do hope that they hammer out these issues. I'll see and watch the price and see what this does. I would love to test out that G9 once those issues get hammered out and the price kind of comes down a little bit. But that's actually going to be it for this video. So if you guys like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.